Welcome back to Mr. C's Biology. Today we are talking about some of the more interesting hearts there are in the animal kingdom and how they're different from what we know about a human heart. Let's get going. So firstly, frogs. Now frogs are an interesting one because they have a three-chambered heart. They have two atria at the top and then one ventricle down below. Now they have some special grooves in their ventricles to try and keep oxygenated and deoxygenated blood apart, but because they can get oxygen through their skin, it doesn't have to be through their lungs, it actually doesn't matter too much if a little bit mixes together and the blood that goes out of the heart from the ventricle into an artery is a little bit mixed of oxygenated and deoxygenated. What about a squid? Now you might have heard that squids don't have red blood, and that's true. Now the red blood that we have is red because of our hemoglobin. Inside the hemoglobin there's 4 proteins, and each of those proteins has an iron molecule in the middle of it. Now you might remember from chemistry that often coloured compounds come from metals, and so the iron makes it this red colour. That's why our blood is red. Now in a squid they don't actually have iron in the middle, they have copper, and so that copper makes their blood blue. While we're talking about blood, insects as well don't really have blood themselves. They have something called hemolymph. This hemolymph mixes around, sloshes around inside their body to try and get oxygen different places. That means they don't really have a heart either, or a circulatory system with blood vessels. So what they do is that when they move, these muscles that they move the hemolymph around the body to different places. Now they don't have lungs either, they have these spiracles, these openings on their body that get the oxygen in, and so they can get lots of oxygen into lots of different parts of the body, so it doesn't have to travel very far. You think that actually insects are quite small, they can't grow too big because if they would, then they'd need to have a circulatory system, they need to have a heart and some blood vessels to be able to transport oxygen around. As it is, they can diffuse the air and be sloshed around a little bit with their muscles, and they can get away with it. Finally, fish have a weird heart themselves. So fish, often we say it's a 2-chambered heart. There are technically 4 chambers, but they're arranged in a different way. You remember that in our human heart we have 2 atria and 2 ventricles, and they're arranged so actually blood goes through an atria, then a ventricle, and then out, and then round again in an atria and another ventricle, and then out. And so it goes through one side and then the other side with something in between, the lungs or the body. In a fish, these 4 chambers that it has, it goes through one and then the other and then the other. So it goes through one at a time. So it starts off going through this sinus venosus at the end of their veins, and then it goes into the atrium and into the ventricle. They only have 1 atrium and 1 ventricle, and then out into a bulbous arteriosus. So the start of their artery basically. So they have these 4 chambers, they're arranged slightly differently, and that's because then they can pump it all the way around through the gills, through the rest of the body without having to do a double circulatory system. So there you go, there's a bit of extra information that you don't need to know for GCSE or A-level, but it's quite interesting about these different hearts and how they work. And it's amazing, isn't it, that these different animals have different circulatory systems and different ways of getting oxygen into their bodies, but they all still need oxygen, they all still rely on respiration, and that's what makes them alive and what makes them a living thing, even though they've got these different mechanisms in order to make it work. Thanks for watching Mr. C's Biology. If you like this video, then do give us a subscribe and stick around for some more. If you want the basics of the human heart, then you can check out this video that I've made already. I've also done a dissection of a heart, so check out the link in the description for that. And there's more to come about the A-level cardiac cycle if you need that for your course as well. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.